the weirdest person that seemed to get embarrassed fairly regularly, but it didn't kind of fit within that kind of they're the heel, so they should get the comeuppance would be Jim Ross. He had a
Yes.
lot of. I mean, I like one of my least favorite wrestling segments of all time. I really don't like watching it. Is the Raw where JR's made to join Vince's Kiss My Ass Club in Oklahoma, and Undertaker's kind of forcing him to do it, and it's just like, I guess the idea is, well, it makes the Undertaker a heel, and it's like, we couldn't have done something better than Jim Ross having to have his face put into Vince's ass on TV in front of his like hometown crowd. I know JR takes himself seriously, but that just felt quite uncomfortable to watch.
It did seem to me to be a test of JR by Vince. And it's like, would JR have the gumption to refuse to do it? I remember at the time that he spent the day complaining about having to go along with this. And I know he did it reluctantly, but he still went along with it. And that really seemed to me to be a battle of wills. And it was Vince sort of wondering whether JR would have the balls to refuse to go along with it.
Do you think in a weird way that if JR had kind of said, I'm not doing it, Vince would have actually respected the fact that he said, nah.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it was one of those sort of, toxic masculinity type things that existed back then. And I think you were, as a wrestler or wrestling personality or part of that system, you were asked to do things, and sometimes the right answer was no. And you were respected more if you refused to go along with it. You declined. You said, well, I feel uncomfortable about this. I don't think this is, I'm coming up with a, good reason or explanation as to why you shouldn't do it. And I think that would be respected as well. And I think, JR was always sort of described as a master politician. And I really feel like he should have talked his way out of that one, because I'm with you. I remember when it happened, I didn't really want to watch it either. And it just felt so gratuitous, I think is the word. It was just unnecessary. It was clearly done for Vince McMahon's amusement and really no one else's. I mean, obviously there were people in WWF apart from Vince who disliked Jim Ross, so I'm sure they got a kick out of it as well. But primarily, it was done for Vince's entertainment, for the old audience of one thing that I've written about and I've talked about on podcasts before. Many things in WWE, are booked for the audience of one, namely Vince McMahon. But I agree, if JR had stood up to Vince and said, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it. If you want to suspend me, if you want to fire me, so be it. I'll leave now, but I'm not going along with this. I think Vince would have respected him more.